welcome back. In this video I'll be showing you how I coat my foam wings with packing tape and how I cut out the control surfaces. Materials we're going to need: a tape measure, scissors, a little razor blade, and a pin. To begin with, we have a freshly sanded foam wing. We need to sand it down after cutting it with a wire cutter so that the tape will actually adhere to it. And take a long strip of tape and line it up. And it's kind of simple, just as you might imagine it would be. Try and have as few wrinkles in the tape as possible, and that can take a little bit of getting used to. You can use another piece of foam board if you have a piece of scrap lying around to help increase the surface area that you put in contact to the wing. And roll the tape around, trying to keep air bubbles out. And notice that I run my packing tape lengthwise. If you think about the forces that are being experienced by your wing in flight, the top portion is experiencing primarily compression. The bottom half is experiencing tension. So by having the tape in this manner, it doesn't do so much for you on the top surface. You could go across if you wanted to, but on the bottom surface you definitely want to go lengthwise to give you the most amount of strength. Now if you're using a spar, it's not as significant, but it also, tape has weight to it. Every piece of tape you put on there is going to increase the overall weight of the wing. Just keep that in mind. This isn't a fast process by any means. You just got to take your time. Smooth. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast, right? That doesn't look too great, but I'm not actually going to put this wing on an airplane. I was just demonstrating how to coat the wing and how to put control surfaces on it. You'll notice that I have some overlapping some overlapping tape hanging off the edge of the wing, and I'll just come along with the razor blade and trim that off. You don't necessarily have to cover your wing tips in packing tape, but I like to, just for that little bit of extra durability. There we go. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. And I believe we've got the top surface fairly complete and coated. And you can see, even though I'm doing kind of a sloppy job, okay, there you have it. There's a coated wing. It makes it much more durable and increases the strength. You do the same thing all the way around. You do the bottom. You can give some extra reinforcements to your leading edge, as that's going to be experiencing some of the most stress on rough landings. Next up, we'll go over control surfaces. Alright, so for this wing, which is a 24-inch wing, roughly, and it's got a 7-inch cord, I guess a good place for the ailerons to begin would be about 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. 2 inches from the tip of the wing. We'll call it a 10-inch, or 10-inch long. That's kind of long. A 9-inch control surface. Put our second line. Alright, so we've got 2 lines on there. I'm going to take a little triangle, line it up here, draw a line, and let's say we want to go back about 1.5 inches. That's a pretty sizable control surface. That ought to be able to get the job done. Okay, 1.5 inches. Gonna need some kind of a straight edge. This is a straight edge. Now in this video, I am going quite a bit quicker than I would go if this was a more serious build, but I'm really not too terribly concerned with the final quality of this wing, as I won't be flying with it. There we go. Zoom in a little bit. See if that gives you a better view at all. From there, I'm just going to cut along your trace marks. And flip it over and do some of the cut from the other side. Okay, there you have it. Control surface, wing. Now we need to come along and sand this down a little bit to make that look a little bit pretty. And then we'll also put a coating of tape over it. We'll take a piece of packing tape, run it the length of that gash, trim it to size with the razor blade, fold it over on itself just to protect the exposed foam. The next step is to cut a notch of about 45 degrees into the forward edge of the control surface, so that when it's up and against here, it will be able to bend downwards and deflect air. For this process, I like having the piece of foam flap up against the table, that you don't mind if it gets a little scuffed. Line up your razor blade along the edge, get about a 45-degree angle, just nice and smooth, cutting towards your fingers, even though you want to try and avoid that as much as possible in this world when cutting things, but sometimes it can't be avoided. Just take your time, nice and easy. It's a little bit tricky to try to do this on camera, but I'm giving it my best shot. Okay, so there's that. You can see it's kind of crummy between trying to do it for the camera and rushing a little bit, but I'll go ahead and hit it with the sand belt sander, and it's really not that bad. The next step would be to take a piece of packing tape to lay it down on top of the flap, fold it over, and seal it off. And you're left with a flap. Next up is making a hinge for your flap. Now, with this little angle facing down, see, this is the top of the wing. With this angled flap facing down, you can take yourself a piece of packing tape, cant your wing, and have the flap or the aileron in there as if it was at maximum downward deflection. Take your piece of packing tape here, place it on, take a second piece of packing tape, have your aileron or control surface at the maximum downward that it would be traveling. Place that second piece of packing tape. Okay, so the top is now hinged. Let's see if I can refocus the camera a little bit. Okay, the top is now hinged. Next up, you want to flip the hinge or the flap or the aileron all the way over. Take another piece of packing tape, secure this side of things, and another piece of packing tape. Okay, so now you have a functional control surface. For control horns, I like using these little nylon two-piece control horns that you run a screw or two screws through the control surface. These come in like a pack of, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 off of Amazon for about maybe around $5, just estimating. Typically, it's good to place your control horn around the center of the control surface. You want to make sure that the holes that you'll be connecting the push rod to are directly above the flap opening, or the crease. I like using a punch to put a hole straight through the foam, sink one of my screws, and keeping the control horn facing forward, sink my second hole with the punch, sink the second screw. So there you have, the control horn is now screwed in place. Well, not as of yet. Take your backing, place it on there, and take a little screwdriver, and I go back and forth between the two screws until it's all the way tight. You don't want to strip the nylon backing, and it will. It's just plastic. And that's how I make a control surface and attach a control horn. Thanks for watching.